hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe shots on goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some freaking money. It's time for Pocket with Jo. Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. It's time for Bucket with Jo over here on SportsGrid TV on X. I hope everyone's morning has started off fantastically. And I also hope you took a chance on the Chicago Blackhawks, a team that was able to come out and get the win over the Colorado Avalanche, who have to play today versus the Minnesota Wild. So always looking for those opportunities for the underdog when they're playing an opponent that's in a bad scheduling spot with a really strong opponent on deck after coming off that big game. It really does pay off out there on the ice. Now, it doesn't pay off every time, but if you did take a chance on the Chicago Blackhawks last night, definitely got you some money. So let's make some more freaking money today, you guys. We are going to jump into today's big slate. So many games to look at. Now, as always, we will do the recap at the end of the show if you can't hang out. So make sure you come back for that. If you do, and then I'm looking at a lot of unders today. I hate to say it, you guys, I've got some first period unders. I do have full game unders, and then I have a couple dogs that I think are barking. So let's jump straight into it. Seeing all of your comments coming in. I appreciate you guys so much for being here each and every single day. So let's make some freaking money. Let's get going here with these picks. And yeah. 10 games. Let's freaking cash. That is for sure. You love Vegas and the Avs today. Okay, looking at the Dallas Stars is where we're going to kick off first. Now, the Dallas Stars are a favorite on the road, taking on the Philadelphia Flyers. All odds are over on FanDuel, you guys. The Dallas Stars rolling in at minus 146. So juicy, but not that bad for a Dallas Stars team that we know what they can do with Jake Ottinger in goal. The Philadelphia Flyers are plus 122 at home, and I would love to say this dog is barking, but I just don't know if I can get behind the Philadelphia Flyers as a home dog. I don't blame you if you do. You're getting great value here. I would have thought the Dallas Stars would have been like a plus or a minus 180 favorite rolling into this one. So the line kind of confuses me a little bit why there's such a short favorite at minus 146. Total of 6.5. Now the 6.5 juice to the under, and that's where I'm going to go in this one. I expect a lower scoring game. The under 6.5 coming in at minus 114. There's a couple of games I think you can alt these totals. This one at 6.5, I'd be willing to alt down to 5.5, and we'll do that in another game as well, as I do think defenses will lock down here. We've seen the Dallas Stars win their last 5. They're off that game that went to overtime versus the New York Rangers. That was a 5-4 win. They cannot get in that style game constantly. So they're going to look to lock down on defense. We know Jake Ottinger is strong in goal. So I expect that lockdown. And when we look at the Flyers, they've lost their last 3. This team has been struggling to put those goals up on the board. They're off that loss to the Leafs. They were at home. They were only able to put 2 goals, allowed 3 themselves. Now they've also lost their last 10 games as a dog. So not a good situation for them here at home, sitting 6th in the Metro. They're 8-10-1 at home on the season. When we look at the Dallas Stars, 3rd in the Central. They haven't been that dominant on the road, but still a positive record on the road, going 9-8. But they have been dominant versus the Flyers. They won 7 of the last 8 meetings versus the Flyers. And when we look at them with what they've been able to do versus some teams, they've been able to really lock down on the defensive side. When we look at that last game, yes, they allowed the goals for the Rangers, but in their game, 6 games prior, they really limited, they held teams to under 3 goals in all of those 6 games prior to the game with the Rangers. So when I look here at the Philadelphia Flyers, this is a team that I think is going to have the biggest issues putting the goals up. I kind of worry that the Dallas Stars should be able to hit Ergen in this matchup. So what I like best, even though I think you can alt that total down to a 5.5 and get plus money, is just looking at the Flyers team total. You can take the Flyers team total under 2.5 goals. That's coming in at plus 108. I struggle to see them getting 3 goals in this one, even if they got a win. Even if they surprise the Dallas Stars, I think it'd be a 2-1 style win here for the Flyers. And then I think if the Stars win this, they win this 3-1, 3-2. So either way, we stay under that alt total of 5.5. and we see the Flyers stay under that team total of 2.5. So that is where I'm going with this one. Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Jace. Let's make some freaking money. You're definitely that team total under 2.5 for Utah, under 2.5 team total cashed. Yeah, we got some nice team totals to the under. It's always scary playing an under, but you guys, it can be so profitable. Let's look next at the Edmonton Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Both of these teams trending in opposite directions. So right now on FanDuel, of course, it's so juiced. If you want to back Edmonton, it's minus 225 on the money line, plus 184 for the home dog and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Can they pull off the upset, though? Plus 1.5 on the puck line for a tight game for the Pens is coming in at minus 138. You got to love what Sidney Crosby and Malkin can do. They can put the weight of this team on their backs when they step up in Letang. But the Oilers have been playing so hot. Minus 1.5 on that puck line coming in at plus 112. This total sitting at 6.5. Now, I do think this game goes over. I do think the Pittsburgh Penguins can put up their share of the goals to help push this one over. We know that the Edmonton Oilers have been winning, and they've been winning big. They got the shutout win versus Boston, putting up 4 goals themselves and not allowing Boston to get on the board at all. And when we look at the Penguins losing their last 4, they were off that loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets. It was a shootout loss. It was a 4-3 loss for them there. I do think we're going to see them get the goals, and I think they'll get the goals in the first period. And that's the thing about Edmonton. Edmonton can come out so strong offensively in that first period. They like to get up, and they like to try to hold that lead. The thing is here, sometimes they're not able to hold on to that lead, but they have been in their last 4 games. So I'm going to look at both teams to score in the first period. Both teams to score in the first period coming in at plus 158. Something's got to give here for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They got to get a little bit of puck luck. It's Skinner versus Jarry in goal, and we know that I trust Skinner slightly, trust Jarry slightly. Both of these goaltenders have had their issues on the season and in prior seasons. So give me the over 6.5. Give me both teams to score in the first period at plus 158. Now, the last time the Oilers, they've really dominated, right? So they are 8-2 in their last 10 matchups versus the Penguins, and they've won the last 7 straight. So this is a matchup that really does favor the Edmonton Oilers. I do think it's worth a look here if the Penguins go up first to come back in on the Edmonton Oilers. I think this is a 1-goal game. I really do think you're going to get value in taking this one to overtime. I can see this one going to OT as the Oilers kind of roll in here. Little bit fat and sassy off 4 wins, and we can get Sidney Crosby and Malkin just being deadly in some of these situations, especially at home. They have the Senators on deck on Saturday, then the Lightning on Sunday, so they've got a heavy weekend ahead of them, both of those games at home. And when we look at the Edmonton Oilers, they have Chicago to end their 4-game road trip. Could Chicago be barking in that game, especially if the Oilers come out and dominate in this one? It could be a situation where Chicago is barking on this weekend. So something to look ahead to as well. Now, if you like Edmonton, that regulation bet seems like a pretty solid way to go because they have been able to win in regulation in their last 4 games straight, and in 14 of their last 26. So regulations bets on the Oilers is a nice way to go. And yeah, you can keep fading the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're due to break that streak at some point. Kev, you're going to roll with the under, but I don't know. I think that first period goes over because the Pittsburgh Penguins, they need to score the goals to win this one. They are not that strong defensively, and they're not that strong in net. So for them to come out, they need to get it. Let's take Crosby for the point then for sure. Let's also take him for 2+ points. I like Sidney Crosby to come out phenomenally strong, Mo, in this one. Vegas, you're going to lay the 1.5 with Vegas. Maple Leafs money line. I love the Leafs on the road today on that money line. That's one of the teams I am definitely going to be betting tonight. So good call on that. Let's look at Boston versus Tampa. So the Boston Bruins, off that loss to the Edmonton Oilers, are now plus 132 on the money line on the road versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning coming in at minus 160 right now on FanDuel. Total 5.5. Minus 124 to the over 5.5. And my concern here is with that total that the Tampa Bay Lightning could put up all of those goals themselves. We're seeing struggles out of Boston in their last 7 games. They've given up 26 goals. And we look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, and while they've struggled in a couple of their games, to get those goals as of late. This is still a team that averages just under 4 goals per game. They come out phenomenally strong. Now, they won their last game versus the Carolina Hurricanes at home 3-2. Lower scoring game, but the Canes defense is so solid. We've seen Boston lose their last 5. They lost Tuesday to the Edmonton Oilers 4-0 at home, unable to get any goals on the board. So they're going to come out looking to score in this game. It's really hard for a team to get shut out, and they look to take it out on their opponents. We know the Tampa Bay Lightning defensively can have those lapses at times as well. Vasilevsky expected, and Swayman for Boston. You guys know I don't have a lot of faith in Swayman this season. He's just not looking like himself. I do like the Tampa Bay Lightning on the puck line in the first period. I expect them to come in here at home and go up in that first period. Laying a half a goal in the first period on that puck line's coming in at plus 154. We look at the Boston Bruins, and they have got off to slow starts. They've lost their last 5 first periods. They've also lost their last 6 games as a dog. So just not a solid spot for the Boston Bruins. Can they get back on track, though? That's always a question mark. Can they get back on track? The home team between these two has won 6 of the last 7 meetings, and I do think Tampa is the right way, but these teams have trended to that under as well, going 10-4 in the last 14 meetings to the under. I expect a lower scoring game. I expect Boston's defense to come out really solid, but I don't think they're going to be able to slow Tampa. So while I lean to the under, I like Tampa in the first period a lot better than anything else in this game. And then I'll just call it a day. Okay, the Buffalo Sabres. They are taking on the Ottawa Senators. Now, Buffalo is the dog on the road at plus 134. The Ottawa Senators returning home off that ridiculous road trip. We talked about it. The league basically giving them the middle finger, returning home for this game, and then headed back out on the road for Saturday. So they're minus 162 here. They desperately need to get in the win column, you guys. Total of 5.5. Minus 132 to the over. I think you could alt this. I'm going to take the over 5.5. I do think you could alt it to over 6.5. I see a 4-3 style win. The Buffalo Sabres have been scoring this year. They're averaging just over 3 goals per game. Their defense in the last 7 games given up 21 goals. So the defense has been allowing those goals to come in. And the defense here, the Ottawa Senators, has been absolutely struggling. So they've lost their last 3. First game home off a 9-game road trip should be an absolute fade, but this team has to go back out on the road to face the Pittsburgh Penguins on Saturday. And I think, this is a really hard situation for the Ottawa Senators. They are going to need to dig deep to try to get this win here. Can they do it here? I don't know, you guys. I'm going to take the over 5.5. I'm going to take both teams to score in the first period. I think we get off to a hot start. Offenses just click. Brady Tkachuk and Tage Thompson. I'll look at both of those guys to be able to get a goal, and I think they probably both get a goal in the first period. The Ottawa Senators did lose to the Sabres back in November. It was a 5-1 loss out there, and we've seen the Sabres lose the last 6 versus the Atlantic. So it has been a struggle versus the Atlantic. When we look at the Sabres, 4-5-1 in their last 10. So this team hasn't been stellar out there on the ice. They are off the win versus the Capitals, so at home in that shootout. So with them coming off such a big game versus the Washington Capitals playing so strong, you could see that letdown spot here. But there's no way for me to bet Ottawa that's going to give me any value. I just don't like it out here. So give me the over 5.5. I do think you could hold it to over 6.5 and get some plus money in this. The Sabres rolling into Ottawa. They've only won 2 of the last 10 meetings in Ottawa, and the home team has dominated, winning 7 of the last 10. So 7-2 in the last 9 meetings for that home team. So I do think there's a way to bet the Sens, and I just don't love this game. First period, both teams to score. It's the only way I want to go. Let's look at these Seattle. I see you guys jumping on the Sabres on the money line. I don't blame you. Buffalo is a good dog. Yeah, Buffalo plays great as a dog. That's when you want to bet. Buffalo laying odds with the Buffalo Sabres is not good. Eduardo coming in here making some freaking money. Good for you, Eduardo. Happy to see that. We all want to make some freaking money out there on the slate. And can the Columbus Blue Jackets do that for us here at home? The Columbus Blue Jackets are plus 104 on the money line at home today versus the Seattle Kraken. Seattle does not deserve to be the favorite rolling into Columbus. Columbus is a strong home team. I don't know what the books are seeing in this line. Minus 125 for a Seattle Kraken team that has lost their last 5 is a favorite. I can't bite on them. The Columbus Blue Jackets, I like what they bring to the table at home. Total 6.5, -130 to the under. I think this line confuses the hell out of me. I thought Columbus would have been the favorite coming into this. Now, caution here with Elvis. Elvis versus Seattle. Those numbers are not pretty, you guys. 5 games going 2-3 with a 3.01 goals against average and an 899 save percentage. When we look at Joey Decord versus the Columbus Blue Jackets, 3 games, 3 wins, 2.67 goals against average and a 925 save percentage. Elvis needs to do his share in this game if Columbus is hoping to win. Because of that, the last game between these two was a higher scoring 5-2 win by the Seattle Kraken. I'm looking for Elvis to stand tall between the pipes, something he hasn't been able to do versus the Kraken. He needs to be able to do this. We look at the Seattle Kraken. This is a team in 60 minutes. It's only averaging 2.74 goals per game. Elvis needs to bring his A game at home in this one. This team's sitting 4th in the Metro, 13-5-3 at home. Columbus needs to absolutely give Elvis that support. The defense needs to step up. And offensively, they need to bring it. Now, they've won their last 2. Tuesday, they had the win versus the Pittsburgh Penguins in a shootout 4-3 road win. It's Thursday, so they're back at home. They're at the St. Louis Blues on a Saturday, but the Columbus Blue Jackets have lost their last 3. They lost to the Devils in a tight game. It was a 3-2 game, but at home. I like Seattle to the under their team total. The problem is the books are giving us Seattle's team total at 3.5, the under at -160. Unbettable. They're giving us the Columbus Blue Jackets team total at 2.5. I like it to the over, unbettable, -166. I'm going to play around with live numbers on this as the game starts going. I'm going to be watching these numbers to see if I get more value on Seattle to the under or more value to Columbus to the over, because I do like Columbus for 3 goals and Seattle for 3 or less goals. So I will be watching that. I am going to look at Columbus straight up on that money line. Again, if the books are tricking me here, they're tricking me. But I also think Columbus reverse puck line, with them being the underdog, you can lay 1.5 on the puck line here. For the Columbus Blue Jackets, they're coming in at plus 250 on that reverse puck line. Again, 13-5-3 at home versus a team in the Seattle Kraken that's lost their last 5 games as a favorite. Yes, this will come down to goaltending. If we lose this, it is because of Elvis. So definitely somewhere to look. And yeah, got a live bet this one. Monahan, I believe he's listed day to day. Unsure exactly what is happening. They don't disclose a lot in hockey. Blue Jackets are 2-5 in the last 10. That's why the Kraken are favorite. Yeah, the Columbus Blue Jackets have been having their struggles. I completely get that, but it's just, I don't know. I just can't bet Seattle as a favorite, you guys. 8-11 on the road, sitting 7th in the Pacific. They're at the Sabres on Saturday, at the Red Wings on Sunday. So they do have that heavy slate ahead of them. They need to get in the win column. If anyone's going to get them in the win column tonight, Jared McCann is going to come out nice and strong. But I do think Columbus can get this done at home. Okay. The New Jersey Devils versus the Rangers. This is going to be an interesting matchup. We know the Rangers have been they've been an absolute mess, right, since December. But the New Jersey Devils have been kind of free-falling right now as well. Their biggest edge in this one is Jacob Markstrom in goal. Now, the Devils coming in at -170. We have plus 140 here for the New York Rangers. Total 6.5, -130 to the under, plus money to the over. The last time these teams matched up, we saw the New Jersey Devils get a 5-0 win. That was back in December. So just dominating. Battle the Metro out here. It's going to be hard for the Devils to roll into the Garden. But with what a mess this Rangers team is, I would expect the Devils to be able to win. Now, I expect the Devils to win a lower scoring game. I'm taking the under 6.5. And yes, you got to lay juice at -130. If you want to take the first period under 1.5 goals, I do think it's a solid way to go. While the Devils have strong goaltending in Jacob Markstrom, we also see the New York Rangers with Jonathan Quick. And when we look at Jonathan Quick versus the Devils in his career, he has outstanding numbers, 6-7-2 in 15 games. It's the 904 save percentage that I absolutely love, at 2.73 goals against average. Jacob Markstrom versus the Rangers, 922 save percentage and a 2.20 goals against average. So this is a goaltending battle out here for me. Under 6.5, you got to lay juice. Ulting it down to under 5.5, you're going to get plus money. I think this ends up being a 3-2 style win here for the New Jersey Devils. The problem with the Devils straight up right now, you're not getting any value. I do think this could be a live betting situation here on the New Jersey Devils. Now they're off the win versus the Kraken 3-2 on Monday. Second in the Metro, 13-9 out here on the road. They have the Lightning at home on Saturday. So they got a pretty big matchup ahead of them. Will they look past a Metro opponent? No, they won't. 8-9-2 here for the New York Rangers, and they've lost their last 6 in this underdog situation. So give me the under 6.5. Hold it down to under 5.5. If the Rangers go up first, I will be coming back in on the New Jersey Devils with that great plus money. Hopefully, fingers crossed if we get it. We're seeing Igor Shesterkin back. I don't want Igor tonight. I want Quick. If Igor Shesterkin's back, I'm going to go to the Devils team total to the over. Just so heads up on that one. Devils should. They absolutely should. That is for sure. Okay, let's look at the next game here today. So we got the New Jersey Devils versus the New York Rangers. We just went over that. We've got the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, Joseph Woll expected here for Toronto and Krochekov expected for the Canes. The Canes have been so inconsistent, especially out there on the road. This should be a solid home team, but we've seen some losses as of late at home for them. So let's just look at current odds on this one. We have the Carolina Hurricanes at -178, plus 146 here for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Done. Like, just sign me up all day long. We're getting value finally on a Toronto Maple Leafs team that's sitting first in the Atlantic. And yes, this is going to be a hard matchup here going into Carolina, a place where Carolina plays their best hockey. Total of 5.5. The 5.5 -115 to the over, -105 to the under. The Leafs have won their last 5. Tuesday win over the Flyers 3-2. We have Carolina off the loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning on the road 3-2. This is the first night of a back-to-back for Carolina. If all of a sudden Toronto gets up big, I don't think Carolina plays that game where they're looking to fight for the full 60 minutes in it, just with a strong opponent on deck tomorrow as well. Then they have the Ducks on Sunday. We're seeing Toronto home versus the Canucks on Saturday. This team's strong on the road, 10-6-2, while Carolina, yes, we know their dominance at home, 15-5 at home. But the Maple Leafs have lost the Maple Leafs are 0-4 in the last 4 meetings versus the Carolina Hurricanes. So they've lost the last 4. But I do think Carolina, I just don't trust right now. I'm going to look at the Maple Leafs to come out strong in that first period, and I think it's the best way to go. Maple Leafs first period money lines coming in at plus 250. It's so much value here. I think they can get up in the first period. We have seen the struggles out of the Canes to start some of these games. I'm cautious, though, with that. That's going to be a sprinkle first period because I think both defenses locked down in the first period and goaltending really shows up. So the first period under 1.5 goals at -118, I think is a great way. The under 5.5 for the full game at -112, but I can see this being an overtime game. Carolina has alternated their wins and losses. So off a loss, we've seen like in the last 6 games, it's been like win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. So there should be the win situation. But I think this is an overtime, 2-2 overtime game. So the overtime bet coming in at plus 300. So what I like best is the overtime, to be honest with you, at plus 300. Then the under 5.5. Then the under 1.5 in the first period at -118. And then the Leafs on the money line in the first period at plus 250. So I need a 1-0 first period, and then this game to finish 2-2 going into overtime. I'm not asking for much. That's just how I want it to go. Okay. The Anaheim Ducks taking on the St. Louis Blues. So the Anaheim Ducks are rolling in here as, of course, the road dog versus the St. Louis Blues. Let me just pull up odds on this one. The Anaheim Ducks are plus 160. The St. Louis Blues are minus 194. This total sitting at 5.5. It's minus 128 to the over, plus 104 to the under. You guys, I'm taking another under 5.5 in this one. Strong trends when these teams play versus each other to the under, and I like what Dostal's done. Now, if it's not Dostal in net tonight, who's expected for the Anaheim Ducks, and it's John Gibson, don't bet the under. So wait for goaltending confirmation, but we're expecting Dostal to come out. Dostal versus Binghamton. I do think we have a goaltending duel out here, and we will see this one stay under the 5.5. Now, I do like the St. Louis Blues to get this win in reg. That's coming in at minus 120, so you're still going to have to lay some juice. The Anaheim Ducks have struggled versus the Blues. They haven't won one of the last 7 meetings versus the St. Louis Blues. And the Blues, off their last 2 losses, I think will come out nice and strong here at home. They've won their last 5 first periods versus the Pacific. So if you just want to jump on the Blues in the first period to come out nice and strong versus the Anaheim Ducks, I think it's another strong way to go. So that's all I'm going to do with this one. I'm going to look at this one to stay under. I'm going to look at the Blues in reg and probably the Blues in the first period on that puck line laying a half a goal because I love chasing that plus money. The Colorado Avalanche are taking on the Minnesota Wild. This is going to be a fantastic game out there on the ice. We've got a home dog in the Minnesota Wild, and I do think they're barking. Now, the Colorado Avalanche are off a loss to the Chicago Blackhawks last night. They're minus 150 here. They didn't play their best hockey. They were in a look-ahead situation to face the Minnesota Wild, and then they have the Jets on deck. Now, this total of 5.5 plus 106 to the under. And again, if you don't like unders, you're going to hate betting with me today because it's a terrifying situation taking a Colorado and Wild game to the under. But with Kaprizov off the ice, we are seeing that defensive lockdown here of the Minnesota Wild. They cannot allow Colorado to get them into pond hockey. This has to be a game where they lock down on defense. But we look here at the Colorado Avalanche, they're quite able to do the same thing, especially with Mackenzie Blackwood in goal tonight. So Blackwood versus Gustafsson. Which goaltender do I trust more? Well, Blackwood's been absolutely outstanding, but we've got Gustafsson here at home, and I'm going to put my faith in him, especially when we're getting plus money on the Minnesota Wild. They're sitting second in the Central, 11-8-1 at home on the season, and they've won their last 4. Big win, 6-4 over the St. Louis Blues on Tuesday. They can't play that style of hockey with Columbus. If they play that style of hockey with with Colorado, they will lose it here. So second night of a back-to-back for Colorado. Look for them to lock down on the defensive side. They don't want to get into a back-and-forth pond hockey game either. I think the under 5.5 is your best bet, and I will put some money on the home dog here in the Minnesota Wild. Now, you're starting to lose some value in that, but there is caution taking the Wild because Colorado has won the last 4 meetings. The road teams won 5 of the last 7 as well. So we've seen road ice advantage, and we've also seen Colorado dominate these matchups. So I understand if you're rolling with Colorado, I just can't get past the plus money with the Minnesota Wild in this one. One game left, you guys, and then we'll get into that recap with the New York Islanders taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. And again, I tell you, you don't like unders, you definitely won't like this one. We got a total of 6.5. It's plus 110 to the over, minus 134 to the under, but that's just not low enough. I'm willing to ult this under 5.5 goals. I'd be willing to ult it to under 4.5 goals as well. So when we look here at the under 5.5, it's coming in at plus 120. When we look at the under 4.5, it's plus 285, I believe it was earlier. So I think this is a 2-1 win. 2-0 win here for the Vegas Golden Knights. I really do think we're going to get a great day out of Adin Hill and the Vegas Golden Knights at home in the Fortress. I think they lock down defensively, but you look at the Isles and you look at Sorokin coming in here to net. Sorokin has been strong versus Vegas in his career. 5 games played, going 2-2 with a 2.65 goals against average and a 918 save percentage. So outstanding numbers versus the Vegas Golden Knights. And when we look at Adin Hill, 2 games played versus the Isles. He's got a 1.49 goals against average, a 955 save percentage. So I think he can stand on his freaking head tonight. I would like to take him for the shutout. We're not getting those props right now. So if you can take him for the shutout, I would take over his save shots on goal because I do think the Isles will find a way to get some shots. If that number is coming in at 26.5, I'd take that to the over. But I am expecting him to play strong. I will look at the shutout here tonight. Again, I think 2-1 win for Vegas or 2-0, which gives us a shutout bet. So this should be a great game out there on the ice. The under strong trend between these two teams, 7-3-1 in the last 11 meetings. To that under, you guys, again, ulting that number from a 6.5 where you got to lay juice down to 5.5 where you're getting plus 120 to a 4.5 where you're getting almost 3-1 to your money is where I'm going to go with this one. We have seen Vegas lose the last 4 first periods versus the Metro. The Isles sitting 8th in the Metro. If you like trends like that, I'm not betting against Vegas in this one with Aiden Hill in net. Yeah, it should be Vegas. Vegas should win this one 2-0. Like that should be the final score. So if you want to ult it to under 3, definitely a strong way to go. Okay, let's do the recap. We're at the 30-minute mark. 10 games in 30 minutes. We flew past it, you guys. Looking at player props, I don't love the props today. So we're not going to build a long shot parlay. I'm liking so many unders in these games, you guys. Building a long shot parlay just doesn't make sense today. So we're going to stay off that. I know you guys ask for it each and every day. I will mention the players that I'm liking in these matchups, but no long shot parlays at all for me today. Okay, so we're going to start off here with, the Dallas Stars. Okay, the Dallas Stars versus the Philadelphia Flyers, you guys. I do think the Flyers struggled to score on Jake Ottinger in this. I'll look at the Flyers team total under 2.5 goals coming in at plus 108. I do think this game stays under the total of 6.5. You're going to have to lay juice to the under there. I do think Dallas gets the win probably in regulation. The Edmonton Oilers versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Give me both teams to score in the first period coming in at plus 158. If you want to parlay any players in this one, I would look at Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl for the point parlayed together and Sidney Crosby and Malkin for the point parlayed together. I think it's a strong way to go. And Sidney Crosby for 2+ points. I do think this is a higher scoring game between these two opponents. The Boston Bruins versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm going to look at the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first period on the puck line laying 0.5 goal. That's coming in at plus 154. I don't trust Swayman. These teams have trended to that under. I think we get the goal in the first period, and then we do see a lockdown, lower scoring game out there between these two. My only fear with that total is the Tampa Bay Lightning push it over themselves. The Buffalo Sabres and the Ottawa Senators, both teams to score in the first period. I think both teams come out hot in that first period, but I could see the lockdown. After that, we've got Ottawa returning home off a long road trip back out on the road. Terrible situation for them here, but the Ottawa Senators need to get the win. I will just take the both teams to score in the over 5.5. One of the rare overs I do like tonight. I think you could ult that up to over 6.5 and get plus money. 4-3 style game. The Seattle Kraken versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. Give me a shot here on the Columbus Blue Jackets at home with that plus money. I like the ult puck line here for the Columbus Blue Jackets, laying 1.5 as well at plus 250. This team is strong at home, and they'll be looking for revenge after the Kraken beat them back in November. The Kraken just haven't been scoring. They've been losing these games as a favorite. It's going to come down to Elvis in goal for Columbus. He needs to stand tall between the pipes because he has struggled versus Seattle in his career. I'm looking for a bounce back game here out of Elvis versus the Seattle Kraken. The New Jersey Devils versus the New York Rangers. Give me the under 6.5 in this game. I do expect this to be a lower scoring game. One that both of these goaltenders battle it out. Now, this is with Jonathan Quick in goal. If we're not getting Quick tonight, his numbers versus the Devils have been outstanding. If we're getting Igor Shesterkin, I will stay off this under. I will look at the Devils team total then to the over 3.5 goals for the New Jersey Devils. So watch your goaltending there. I do count on Jacob Markstrom to play really strong. Maybe a Rangers team total if you're getting value on the under. 2.5 in that would be the play to make. The Toronto Maple Leafs and the Carolina Hurricanes. I will take a shot on the Leafs on the money line in the first period at plus 210. What I like better, though, is the under 1.5 in the first period at minus 118, the under 5.5 for the full game, and this game to go to overtime at plus 300. I think we have an absolute battle between the Leafs and the Carolina Hurricanes, which will come down to goaltending and defense in this game. The Anaheim Ducks and the St. Louis Blues. Give me the Blues in the first period on the puck line laying 0.5 goal. Give me the Blues in regulation at minus 120, but this game to stay under the total of 5.5. That's coming in at plus 104. I like what Dostal's shown us in goal. If it's not Dostal and it's John Gibson, don't touch the total because the St. Louis Blues will be able to hit Gibson hard. It's Binghamton on the other side for St. Louis. The Colorado Avalanche and the Minnesota Wild. I can't pass up that price of the home dog here in the Minnesota Wild, even though Colorado has won the last 4 meetings versus them. I do think between the goaltenders Blackwood and Gustafson, we got a complete goaltending battle in this one. The under 5.5 best bet of this game coming in at plus 106. The New York Islanders and the Vegas Golden Knights, I do think another low-scoring game. First period under 1.5 goals coming in at plus 104. Vegas wins this 2-0 or 2-1. I think you alt this total. The total sitting at 6.5 minus 134 to the under. Great. Under 5.5 alt number plus 120 to the under. Under 4.5 alt number almost 3-1 to your money. So I do like this 2-1, 2-0 style game, which means I'm looking at Aiden Hill for the shutout tonight. Looking at his numbers versus the Isles, they've been incredibly strong. 1.49 goals against average, a 955 saves percentage in 2 games played with those 2 wins. So this is all about the Aiden Hill show. If he can stand tall between the pipes like he has in recent games versus the Isles. And Sorokin, I think, can do his share. Sorokin strong numbers versus Vegas. So you guys, that is it for today. I hope you guys all make some freaking money out there on the ice. Again, if you're looking at player props, it would be the Oilers game versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then I'd probably look at the Tampa Bay Lightning just for, like the power play points, Braden Point for a point, that kind of way. And the New Jersey Devils, I would look at the New Jersey Devils on the power play as well. You know how strong that power play is. But you guys, I appreciate each and every one of you for being here tonight. Let's make some freaking money. And we'll see you back here at noon Eastern tomorrow for another Puck It with Jo here on SportsGrid. Hit some anytime goal score.